Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I don't even know what to call this anymore. Like, I've been trying to do these, like, stupid intros where we go through the different name variations of what the series is, but at this point, I don't even know. Um, point being is, welcome back. So, last time we built this wonderful structure, and in between episodes, I've been busy. Not too busy, but busy enough. I've done some lovely gardening work. This is still growing, but it's getting there. This is my food source in the back here, just the patates, because we need those. We're aging some copper for a future project over in that backfield there. We've done, yeah, some manual detailing, some like that, some literal just bone meal and prey detailing, because that usually works out fairly well. It actually looks great on the map. I killed a raid without getting the effect, which is awesome. And I planted some trees that I'm going to need to chop down in a minute, I'm realizing. But what's important is what's in my inventory. And the answer is way too much deep slate. Because today we're going to be building some pathways. And the goal eventually is this pathway is going to come all the way down here, probably down that channel actually, to a pier, right? That comes out. But for now, we just need to get the basic path built all the way up to the mountain's edge, with the possibility that there might be a river that comes down here and flows under a bridge. We might do that. So I'm thinking I'll probably stop around here. I also collected some cows and sheep. I've been busy. But, so, the plan this time is, the last time when we did a path project, if I remember correctly, in the other series, we did it with like stone and bricks. Well, not like stone bricks, gravel and all that stuff. And then we did some like path chutes that were like coarse dirt, kind of like that path we did to the Hobbit hole, right? But I don't want this to be an industrial path, but more of a more fortified path, right? This is like a garden path almost, right? It's very like what's the word to describe it? Fragile almost, right? Where you could look like, you could imagine like kicking your foot along here and like knocking up the dirt and like kicking away the pebbles and stuff, right? Whereas something like Blackstone would create a very industrial, almost paved look. What I'm going for is somewhere in the middle, which is why I've got all this deep slate, because deep slate's a darker gray than this, and it looks more solid, right? Like deep slate bricks look much more solid than this does. Even the cracked ones. Even like normal deep slate looks much more solid than that. But definitely less solid than something that was intentionally paved. The other thing we're going to do partially here is install some lamps, because I want to light the edge of this. So clearly I've cleared this area out here for building, right? So this pathway, as you can see, it kind of curves, right? So it curves up and over this hill, down and around, down here, and then it swoops back up around the channel. It's going to come up to here, and then we're also going to have one that like curves down and into this building, probably here actually. With that said though, we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm not quite sure if I want to time lapse this or not, or I want to just sit and talk through it. So I think I'll allow myself to do both with replay mod. We will see how it goes. But first off, I need to sleep, because I would rather not die 42 times while doing this. Just generally, that's not something I aspire to do. But the one problem with doing textured roads like this is you've just filled your entire hotbar with stuff, which is rather irritating. So, but like whatever, we do what we do. First things first, I need to clear the path of all obstructions, which basically means get rid of torches, ferns, rose, whatever, poppies, all that stuff, right? Get it all out of the way. I don't need to do that. But like just get rid of anything that could cause issues. So that includes leaves and whatnot. I'll probably have to remove these trees as well, but we'll cross that path when we get there. What I do know is that the hardest part about this is going to get a balanced shape. Because this terrain is so mountainous and hilly, right? There's like this big valley in between these peaks. Like the hill up here, the mountain peak up here, right, with all the snow. And then down here, you've got this little, like, valley. And then it pops up. I kind of want to build another, like, little hill on the other side almost. Because it then comes down to this little river, which then goes down even further and then shoots back up on the other side. What that means, though, is that we've got a very limited area where we can fit this pathway. And that limited area is kind of here, which means we've got this very curvy terrain, right? Whereas preferably you'd want something that's kind of flat, but I do think if I do it right, it'll look very natural along this edge. And so what's important is as we come along here with the pattern, which is, it's random, but it's kind of a selected random pattern, right? The best way to show it, like this path doesn't do a great job because it's not a very large scale, but you see these, like, you've got diagonals. You never want to connect more than like 4 or 5 blocks in a chain, right? Like this is probably the most I would ever do, and this only works because it's so spread out, right? Like this becomes a chain here, and you don't really notice it. Like you kind of notice it here a little bit because this is kind of a concentrated area, but right, this chain you don't really notice at all. Like it's very apparent that that's not. It looks very natural, right? You can do like a 2, 1, maybe that. Or usually I'll do this, or occasionally you can do, I find the one that's most noticeable is when you do like an L shape like that. It's very easy to tell that those are all the same block, especially with like the brick textures. It's less noticeable with deep slate. It's definitely noticeable with polished deep slate bricks and chipped or cracked. Cobbled is a little like, harder to notice, but what helps with that is the slabs that we're going to use to kind of break up the pathway and its perimeter. But I think we need to start right here at this line here and just go. So we're going to start very simply just by carving away some dirt. We're going to start with a cobbled deep slate. And what we should do actually is just carve out this little bit here, and you just go section at a time, right? I do need the axe actually. I didn't think I was going to need it, but apparently I will. So you start out very simply. I usually start out with the shape because it's a great way to get things going. If you put in a polished here, polished in the corner, right? You replace that with what would be a cracked brick, and you do some normal deep slate here and over here. You put in another like polished in the corner there, or even better, maybe cobbled deep slate, and you put some more cobbled deep slate over here mixed in with the best here might be normal deep slate, right? You get that nice patterning. And as we curve around here, you'll start to see as the road takes a bit more shape, right? That those patterns that seem more apparent when you start to disappear into the greater mass of the whole thing. And what you'll get very quickly is a really natural looking road, right? So you get that, and then you put in some polished here. And what we'll do here is install some cracked bricks, even another one there, cracked bricks. You'll get normal cobbled, right? Maybe mix in a normal brick here. Like, see, that's very noticeable. There's a lot of brick in here. So what you do to break that up, obviously, is that we need to replace these 2 blocks. Probably with a deep slate. Honestly, you could place one here. And then what we can do is do a cobbled deep slate there. And then a polished deep slate there. And you see that breaks up the texture a little bit, makes it look a little more natural. Just so that that texture gets broken up and it doesn't look as forced, right? You want to make the pattern look as natural as possible while still retaining a structure to make it easier on you to build it, right? Because if you're trying to just like free spin this wheel, like I've seen people on the internet just like spin through blocks and just place them. And I find that that doesn't look as good as this kind of more methodical but still random pattern, right? Like I'm not necessarily thinking about what block I'm going to place next inherently, right? I'm not like choosing, oh, okay, I need to put a cracked bricks here and a cobbled here. But I know if I go in a relative pattern, I will end up with a road that looks fairly natural, right? Like I know if I do that little L shape there, that's going to cover off that corner very nicely. And if I come in with some slabs here on the edges and line that maybe with one cobbled and then some brick rather than all cobbled, you're going to get a much more normal looking texture. As that parades down, we're going to like swoop around here as well. And you get that very like easy to understand, like easy on the eye, easy to comprehend with your brain, but you can also sit and see the intricacy in it and all the little details, which is really important when you're doing a decoration item like this, right? Like this road isn't practical in any sense, right? Like you could very easily build a road that contains actually I kind of like that. A road that is made of soul soil, right? And you have soul speed boots and you get to run really fast on it, or you can do an ice road or something like that, right? This is not that. This is not intended to be practical, right? There was little to no intention of this road being practical at all. The only purpose it serves is as a decoration, right? And what's really important when you're doing decorations is that they fit naturally into your environment. Right? I know I'm kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, but I can't stress how important it is that when you're building something like this, that you think about how it's going to fit and how it's going to work with the rest of your world. Now here I've been following the natural flow of this most of the way, but right there I'm going to add in an extra block because this is almost carving too steep for where I'm taking this road, and I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to kind of fill that out and maybe almost fill out another block here with let's do a cobbled, like this. That's where you get to select the individual blocks and think about it a bit more. And that's where those details become more important, and that shows your skill as a builder, is if you can decide what needs to go there and what's best for the project. Right here, this is then going to drop down to the next level. But as we come along here, I'm going to remove all of this material, right? And this is going to be the drop-down layer of our pathway, right? So you've got this very, oh, actually, that needs to be replaced with deep slate. Or, actually, a slab probably is best, and then you put deep slate down here, right? That is going to give you that very natural appearance. If you make sure you change that slope so that you can feel the way the pathway, like I'm noticing that this feels a little skinny, and I almost want to bring it one more block along the edge, or even add like an edge to it, so that you get a more filled out look, right? It will definitely help us adding in blocks down here. Like doing this, right, is obviously going to make this look a bit more filled out than it was previously. But it's definitely no substitute for just having a well-proportioned pathway. So you see, that's a little too much. I didn't notice that at first. It doesn't really fit. But if I come in here and fix it that way, and then put a brick here and a brick here, and then maybe a polished deep slate. Oop. And then you've got some cobbled deep slate with some cracked bricks, right? You now start to see this pathway feels a lot wider now that me, that I've kind of formed it around the terrain a little bit, almost wanting to add in a little more grass on the edge here to kind of fuse it a little bit better into the terrain around it. So this will then, this will drop down another level here which we need to make sure we do well. So this is as it curves back to this side, we want to sharpen this edge a little bit, right? So you're going to get a bit sharper of an edge, which normally wouldn't necessarily be something you want, but we kind of want to, I guess the word would be accentuate. Accentuate this curve as we come back to this direction, right? Because we're curving back around this way, and we're going to curve down, and then curve back around and up. And I'm probably going to bring these blocks in a couple more as we come along here just to make a little more curve. Because right here we've got a little bit of curve, right? As we come over to the corner here, it's fairly shallow, right? The curve is not super intense. It's noticeable but not prominent. It would be more prominent if I brought it out 1 or 2 more blocks here, right? And as it curves back in a little harder. So, right, if I change this out and instead of doing necessarily slabs there, I come back and I replace this with that, right? Do that block here. Maybe a deep slate there. And then you replace that with cobbled, right? You get a bit more of an angle here, right? It's going to make this look a little sharper, right? And almost too sharp, which is why I feel like I need to extend this edge out, right? It's a lot about just fiddling until you think it looks right. And that's what a lot of this is, right? So as I come along here, I'm gonna fill that with cobbled, and I'll do a normal deep slate here and here, all the way up this edge, and then I'll fill in like a cracked brick here and here maybe, and then a normal deep slate there, right? As you can see, that helps that curve a little bit. We definitely need another block here. Right, but as it comes around, imagine this curves, right? You can see the curve a bit more now. It's a bit more noticeable. It's definitely not as hidden. You can really see what I'm trying to go for with the shape. And that's what's really important as we go here. I think, I feel like I've done a decent enough job of explaining how this process works. Like hopefully you guys can understand what I'm doing from my perspective, right? It's a very methodical but still natural building process. And as I go along, you'll see how that starts to form as I finish the path and then go back and make some edits and then check it again and then go back and make some edits. But with that said, I think we're going to cut into a bit of a time lapse here because you probably don't want to sit through, it's already been 20 minutes, you probably don't want to sit through another 40 minutes of me building this path. So, with that said, I'll see you guys after the time lapse. Alright, so for the most part here, we've finished the road. There's a couple edits I might make in between episodes here. I'm not quite satisfied with this transition here. You can see in the timelapse that I changed it a little bit a couple times. I wanted it to slope steeply around, but there's not really an easy way to do that with a smooth transition. Like, if you want to jump up, yeah, you can do it really easily, but I didn't really want to jump. I just wanted to be able to run up the edges of this walkway here. And you can see, I used this slope of the terrain, the natural slope, to create this kind of barrier to kind of match this, to make the pathway feel that little bit wider and a bit more diagonal, right? To give it some texture. And at some point, I'm going to come through here and add in like some stairs, maybe filled with water, to add a little bit even more depth. But that's for another day, probably when we do the next path project, right? This is like path project part 1, right? This is the initial path. And then we'll do another one that eventually goes down that way. And then another one goes up that way and probably deeper into the woods that way once we need to. Maybe even around this corner here along the ridge. Because of course we don't need those yet. And once the buildings exist, then we're probably going to want to connect them with paths, right? What we are going to do, though, is not too many, but just a couple lamps. I'm toying with this idea of like these lanterns, right? And these lanterns are very different. They have very different vibes to them. I've been toying with this idea of doing a light and a dark side. The only problem is the dark side literally starts right here, and right over here is the light side, and then hill. And so the only way this works out is if I manually fill in this entire hill and then install a building, right? Like, I can very easily put a dark building here. I could also put a light building up on this hill. Like if I carved this side out. I'm toying with it. Alright. Hopefully these fill in nicely along the edges here. So, you go trapdoors around the bottom of the chiseled deep slate. Oop. I should get the axe. I'll probably more likely need the pickaxe. That's fine. Okay. Because that chisel deep slate will just have the holes in it. But it's more so that I only have to carry one block, because then you come up here. Place that, right? And then, I should actually have grabbed a scaffolding material. I will need to get actual scaffolding sooner or later, but don't really have access to that yet. Let's just grab some dirt. And the buttons we can actually leave out of here, because those are finishing touches that I might choose to add or not, depending on how they look. Alright, so the top, we have hopper, we have slab, and then we're going to place warped trapdoors. There and there. Oh, that's not the angle I wanted. Hold on. Angle I want is this one. Actually, the angle I had before is probably fine, but it doesn't really matter. I feel like I probably should mirror whatever the other one does, but I'm gonna not bother, because I think it'll look better from the ground if I don't. Alright, so then you come down, right? Come down to your normal height, collect all the stuff you broke because you're absolute numpty. And then you get your lamps. And then you grab your buttons. And your buttons can go all the way around if you choose, or not at all. I like it because it adds a little splash of color. But yeah, I personally really like this. I am considering changing this to Blackstone when I get it. And I might do that, because it might look a little bit better. But for now, while I don't have Blackstone, this is what we're going to use. What I am realizing now, as we sit here, is that I need to clear out these trees. Because they're going to be a problem. Because they're going to be in the way of where I want to put lamps. So we will cut the trees. We're going to lumberjack it. Alright. So we can either do a lamp down here or on the hill. And I'm kind of feeling like on this corner block here. But that feels like a little too high up, so I might do the inside. That's a little too close. Why don't I make my own block? Right? If it's not perfect, fix it. Perfection is an option. Always. Whether you think so or not. Alright. Let's scaffold up. They don't always have to be diagonal. You can also do horizontal depending on your orientation. Right, but here I'm going to do another diagonal one. Just considering the fact that of where it's located. So, right, just like that. Then get rid of that. Go back to the shovel. Scaffold back down. Place our chains. Place our lamps. Or lanterns, mind you. And then we switch back to our buttons. Place them down. And look at that. Another lamp done. And it adds a lot just to this little area, right? It gives it some depth. I almost do want to change that orientation, but I'm not going to. What is that visual glitch going on? Oh, it's the shadow of the sun as it goes down. All right. I think I'm going to do one right here. That has a lot of saplings. Wow. Alrighty. We'll make the scaffold tower as we go. This one is going to be horizontal because we don't need it to be diagonal because we're already horizontal to our road. So that works out really nicely. Bring the buttons down. Lantern, lantern. It's not a lot of light. But see, yeah, you can't place the buttons there, but that's fine. That's not a huge deal. It's not important. For the aesthetic, I'm considering maybe removing them. We'll see. I do think the splash of color helps. Definitely. And then we'll do another one here. Okay, yeah, I'm convinced now. They definitely don't despawn if they're touching, because that tree was broken like days and days ago. It hasn't been here for a while. So yeah, they definitely do not despawn if they're touching another tree. Which realistically doesn't make sense, but when is microturbo realistic? I'm not going to focus on that too much. Alright. And then one more lamp, we'll plop her right here. And this one will be horizontal as well. Just because of where I think this path is going to go. Again, these are so quick to build that you very feasibly could just take it down and put it back up several times if you wanted to. The only annoying part to break is all the button. Well, I guess you don't have to worry about it. You can just break the center block. Yeah, really, there's nothing annoying about breaking these down at all now that I think about it. They're so simple of a design that you can just kind of go, place all your stuff, go down, block, 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 block. And they are definitely not cheap, but they aren't the most expensive designs I've seen. I've seen a lot with anvils. Imagine using basically 4 blocks of iron per... Actually, it would be about 4 blocks, including the chains and the lanterns. It's just over 4 blocks per lamp. Like, that'd be ridiculous. Like, nobody would ever make them. And I definitely... Once this building is here, I think we will install some more. I feel like we need one, like, right over here. But this slope doesn't feel like it's quite wide enough for that. So... we might have to extend... just like that. We'll just do a little bit of manual work, right? Oh, there's Piglin inside. Hello, sir. I probably should fix that as well at some point. Make sure that can't happen. Because we don't need uninvited guests in our little temple area, whatever, witch hut thingy. Alright, that. How do I do this to make it look quite right? Alright, I think that'll probably fix itself as it grasses over. And then we'll definitely put a lamp probably up here, up on this hill. Maybe like right here, actually. But that feels a little too tall. I honestly do think that's good for the time being. At least for now, I feel like that's decent enough. We do need some torches up on this hill or some sort of light. Because, these, as you can see with F3, my block light level is 0 right here. Like 2, 3, 4. Like directly below lamp, you only get 6. Or, sorry, yeah, 7. 7 or 8 at best, and that's right below it. They look really cool, especially at night, but they definitely do not do a great job of keeping mobs away. So that's something you kind of have to figure out. Like here, I didn't want to put any light sources, so I did the sneaky thing of shoving a glowstone underneath a carpet of moss. I'm thinking about doing another one, maybe closer to the buildings. Hi. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, like I'll definitely have to deal with all the stuff. Like you got skeletons spawning up here, you've got Enderman up on the hill, right? What I've been doing for the most part is just kind of like shoving torches behind things like that. So that it's not necessarily noticeable. Right? Like that's now lit up, but you can tell, of course, that there's light up there, but you can't really tell. Just generally. I do want to try something before I end this episode. I had this thought just now. Not tough. Cobblestone. If I turn... I've actually got some stone. If I turn this into walls, right? What if I were to... like, put one or two up here, right? Like, right there. Maybe even lower. But just... then hang a chain from it. And a lantern. Or not even a chain, maybe. I definitely didn't get the chain below the wall. Oh, shoot. I broke the... dang it. Like if I just do some very light terraforming here. Just mess with the geometry of the wall a little bit. I could theoretically get a lantern up there. And those provide more than enough light for what we need. Oh, that was that shooting. I thought there was like a silverfish getting launched out of the wall for a second there. Right? And if I go up to the top and then fill that in with a little bit of dirt. It looks real or normal enough. I can terraform this out a little bit, but if I just even without it, I could just like clip a lantern up there. We can debate, see which looks better here. If I pop in a cobblestone wall and then a lantern below it. That looks like a little too much. I feel like just the minimalistic lantern is good. Because what that'll do is it'll bring the light level, right? 11 here. Like, there's nowhere in here. Okay, on this path, there's some 0 spots, right? But just generally, you don't worry about it as much. Like, even just, like, popping cobblestone wall here and then a lantern on top does a pretty decent job just to prevent mob spawning right now. Just a fairly reasonable aesthetic way. Right, like this. Okay, this actually gives you a really good idea of the light and dark. Right? You've got dark side over here, light side over here. The only thing I'm going to have to worry about is the mob spawning. But I feel like I can prevent that, right? Like here. Like the 0 over here, of course, because there's no light, right? Like that's how that happens. Why are all these skeletons so like kitted out? Wow. Right, but you get like you can see along most of the path here, right? 5, 6, 3, 2. There's a couple 0 spots right in the middle here, which I can fix, especially with a building here. and then some potential like better lighting sources, including literally just popping a wall and a lantern, which I might do actually, like right here. Like look at that. That brings the light all the way out here, and we're just good. Like there's nowhere, like until you get all the way over here, of course, where there's no light at all, but like that lights this up enough where we're not going to get mob spawning, which is what's important. That's the detail that matters. Like aesthetics are of course important, but when you're playing survival, especially hard survival, just preventing mob spawning at most costs is important. With that said, the path is built, the lights are done. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.